Okay, so the supplies that you're going to need, you need 2 pieces of chipboard or cardboard or cereal packet wrapper, anything. These were made from my Stampin' Up storage boxes. These are 3.5 by 3.5 and you need 2 pieces, and you need a piece at 1 7/8 by 3.5. You need something to cover that in, so an outside cover. I'm going to have this pattern on the outside. This is 10 by 5. You need a piece for the inside, so this is like your liner. This is 8.25 by 3 3/8. 2 pieces of ribbon that measure 6 inches if you're going to fasten it with ribbon. If not, you could make a belly band or something like that. And then you'll need some other bits and pieces, but I'll tell you them as we go along. So I've made this is 10 by 5. I've made a mark at 5 inches just to give me an idea of where the centre is. I'm going to get my piece that's 1 1/8 by 3.5, and that's going to sit centrally to where my 5-inch mark is. So I'm going to use some glue and just stick that down, and then I'm going to sit this so I've got a fairly even gap top and bottom, but so this piece of card, the centre of it lines up with that 5-inch mark. And I'm just going to hold that down for a minute. Then I'm going to bring my next piece of card in, which is 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And I'm going to stick this down, and I'm going to leave enough of a gap, the width of my board and a bit more place. And then I'm going to do the same with this last one. And then while that's having time to hold, I'm going to bring in some tear and tape and put some tear and tape on the pieces of chipboard or board or whatever you're using. And I'm just going to burnish them down, and then burnish these pieces of board down in place. Now I'm just going to fold, turn it over, holding my bits of chipboard in place, and fold just so the paper knows that's how I want it to work. Now I'm going to bring in my scissors and I'm going to cut away some of this bulk in the corner. So, like you do when you're making boxes, I'm going to miter the corner. I'm going to stay about 1/8 of a way from the cardboard. I'm not going to cut right up to here. I'm going to stay a little bit away. So I'm going to kind of miter in and miter in from this side. And I'll hold it up so you can see, hopefully, that there's still some paper here, not right up to this corner. I'm just going to do that on all 4 corners. I'm going to bring in some tape and apply some tape along this edge. And again, I'm just going to burnish the tape down because it releases better if you burnish it down. Okay, so I've released all the adhesive now, all the tape from the adhesive. So I'm going to fold this over and press it down on opposite sides just for now. Now, where these corners are, I'm going to push in these corners where I left the little 1/8 of an inch gap. And then I'm going to bring up You just want to push in the paper. And bring that over. I'm going to do the same, just push in the corners. And bring this over. And because you've not cut so close to the corner of your cardboard, you've got nice covered corners here now. So I'm just going to put a little bit more tape now, just on this inside. I'm not going right to the edge. This is going to hold my ribbon in place temporarily. Going to bring in my 2 lengths of ribbon, and I'm just going to bring it in about 1 inch and stick it to that tape. Now I want to bend these creases, but I'm not going to dig the end of my bone folder into the paper because it could split it. I'm using the flat end, and I just want to mark where those gaps are. And then I'm going to hold in the middle. I know this is sticky, but I'm just going to tease up the sides, and I'm just going to put that to one side for a minute. Now I'm going to bring in my liner. So I'm going to cover this in tape. Now this is not my idea, there's all sorts of things around on Pinterest, and I did see a YouTube channel make something very similar to this, but I have to say, when I was trying it out, the measurements that the person gave weren't correct. So I'm not going to leave a link or anything, because if you follow the measurements, it won't work out. So I've worked this out myself. I've readjusted the measurements, and hopefully this should work. So I'm going to peel away, but I'm not peeling away all the tape. Okay, so I've got all the bits of tape now just peeled back ever so slightly, and this is going to sit in here now. So if I line this up, and I've got a little bit of an edge all the way around, and I'm just going to press in this top corner here because that's where I've freed the adhesive from. So now if I just hold gently and peel away, I can then press that down in place, and then I can peel all the other bits of paper away, and I've got my liner in position now. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to hold in the middle again, and I'm just going to bend up ever so slightly just so I know where that gap is in between my board, and I'm just going to press again. I'm not pressing with the edge, I'm not digging into the paper, I'm pressing with the flat edge just to tease in that space, that fold. And if you do it gently, you won't get any creasing, and because I'd stuck adhesive down on this central spine underneath the paper, that will hold that in place. So that's your kind of outside of your album now, and it's going to tie with your ribbons. So what you need now, you need to make 2 of these to sit inside to hold your cards in your envelope. So I've already made one, and I'll just make the other one with you. So this is a piece of card, and this measures 5 1/4. I'm just referring to my notes because I wrote all this down several weeks ago, and now I'm coming to actually make it. 5 1/4 by 3. You're going to score on 3 sides at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. So I've got it butted up into the corner. I'm going to score at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Turn it. Score at 1/2 inch and 1 inch and turn it again, and 1/2 inch and 1 inch. This is what you'll have. I'm not sure how well you're going to see it, but you'll have 4 squares in each of the bottom corners. I'm going to cut those 4 squares away on both sides. So cut on the score line and cut those away. The same on here. You're cutting up to your second score line, so you're removing the whole of the 4 of the squares in the bottom left and the bottom right hand corner. Now I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to burnish on the score lines. And this is going to fold up like so and hold your cards. So you want to put a little bit of adhesive in each corner of this bottom flap. And I'm going to use wet glue because that will hold better. Just a tiny dot just to hold it, because the whole thing is going to get stuck down in a few minutes. So you want to bring up and line up this fold with this loose edge. And it wants to be at angles to itself. So you're just going to bring it up, try and do it this way and hold it in place. And then bring the other one up and hold that. You need to get your fingers inside so that the edges line up. And just hold it in place, and you'll make 2 of those so they look like this. Then you bring your album back in and make sure you've got your album the right way up, and these are going to stick inside. Now you need to line up the left edge to the outside edge of your paper, and I would line up the bottom to the bottom of your liner. Hopefully you'll see this, like so. You're going to put glue on these 3 sides, and again I'm going to use wet glue. You don't need to apply loads because you don't want it all oozing out, but you want enough that it's going to hold. And this is where it's bending, so you're away from the bend. I'm just going to hold it in place until, you know, it starts to grab, and then I'm going to get my bone folder and just burnish. You don't want to push this out of square, you want to keep it square. So I'm just burnishing along the bottom and along the sides, and hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to do the same with this one. And then this will fold together and tie up. So these matting layers are 3 inches by 1 7/8, and they're going to stick on there. And I'm going to use snail for these because it's, you know, paper to card. I only tend to use wet adhesive and tear and tape when it's something that needs, you know, to have more structure and more stability. So that's how that's looking now. So now I've already done one of my little cards, but I will do another one with you, and then I'm going to do all 4 the same. For your note cards, you need 4 pieces that measure 3 by 6. So this is a piece of A4 card, so I'm just going to cut this at 3 inches. And then I'm going to cut it at 6. And while I'm here, I'm going to score it at 3. So I'm just going to bring in my bone folder, fold these over. This is a piece of designer series paper that is 1 by 3. I'm going to stick this onto the front of the card. I'm going to stick it more to the top than the middle, if that makes sense. So like so. I'm going to bring in one of my 2-inch circles. So you'll need 4 2-inch circles and 4 circles that are 1 3/4 inches. And I've fussy cut these with the ScanNCut using a circle shape from the designer series paper. And for my 2-inch circles, I've cut 2 in the, I think it's Pool Party that's in the pattern, and 2 in Petal Pink. So I'm just going to stick my circle on top to bring in some dimensionals and put a couple of dimensionals on the back of here. And the reason I'm sticking the pattern paper more up than central is because I may want to stamp a greeting on the bottom. I'm going to stick that on there. I'm going to bring in some embellishments. I'm going to put a little basic gem in the centre of this flower. I've just got a little bit of paper that's overhanging there, so I'm going to trim that off. I obviously didn't quite line it up right to the edge. So that's my little 3 by 3 note card. There's my other one. So I'm going to make 4 of those. So when I've done those, I'll show you them. And as I say, I've got a space here that I can maybe stamp a greeting on. Okay, so for the envelope, I've got a piece of paper that's 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to score it and punch it at 2 5/8. And then I'm going to rotate it and line it up and just follow the score line. So I don't have to use any other measurement other than the first time. Just burnishing my score lines. Grab a card, make sure it's going to fit. That fits into my box. I'm going to bring in my silicone mat and apply some adhesive on the edges here. Remove my mat, fold that over And then I'm going to apply some adhesive on this bottom edge here. So that's how that's looking now. So I'll just go ahead and I'll make the other cards and the other envelopes, and then I'll be back. Okay, so here we are finished. So I've got 4 envelopes that sit in this side. I've got my 4 cards, which are 3 by 3, and I've got some on a petal pink circle, some on a pool party, but the strip of paper is all matching, and although the birds are different, they're all cut from the same suite. And then I've added a little bit of bling, I don't know if you can see it, on each one of them. A little bit of a rhinestone on the flower. So that's my 4 cards. They all sit in there. These would be great teacher gifts for Christmas or craft fair items. You could even pop a few stamps in, you know, and sell them with the stamps. And then it all folds over and ties. And I've not decorated the front because I think the paper speaks for itself. You know, they would sit on a little shelf, or, you know, so they're handy for somebody to keep. You could put something else on the front if you wanted to. But that's just another little gift idea in my mini album series. I've got 3 planned so far. You may have already seen one by the time this one goes up, I'm not sure. So I've got a mini album that you can put photographs and things in. This is a kind of mini album that holds cards, and then I've got another mini album that kind of flips in places. As I say, I've got 3 plans so far. I may even do a Christmas one, I'm not sure yet. But if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.